John?
Hey, Hakeem, it's Chuck.
Would the senator yield for a question?
Chuck Schumer, it's the only time in my life I can tell you no.
We're all really proud of you here. You quite literally accomplished nothing these past 25 hours, but we're still proud of you. Nothing you did helped our cause, and I'd be embarrassed to be in your shoes at this moment. Anyways, great job, champ, and take a piss. You've earned it.
All right, guys, it's time for another Friday Roundtable Extravaganza, and joining me today are host of Outkick the Morning, Charly Arnolt, and co-host of the PBD Podcast, Adam Sosnick. Charly, Adam, welcome to the program.
Welcome to my tan friends. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Good to be here.
Yeah, Adam, maybe we should start there. I want Charly to, it's her first time on the show, so I want her to tell the people a bit more about herself before we begin. You're a Rubin Report veteran, but you are here in the lower quadrant of Florida. You seem very pale today. What's going on here?
Listen, I just had Sam Cedar on the podcast. I'm a little disgusted, a little, we revealed that he's basically a communist and he says he's a democratic socialist. So this is what happens.
All right, fair enough. You've been barfing
All of
for 3
the blood
hours.
has been drained from his face. Fair.
It's true.
Charly, before we
Vampire
dive in, for the people that don't know you from Outkick, can we do a 30-second Who is Charly, and then we'll get to it?
Yes. Charly unfortunately lives in New York City, but I have a tan, so there is something to be said about that. Not only am I working for Outkick, you'll catch me on Fox News. Actually, that's where Dave and I first met in person for the first time. Thank goodness. This past Friday, we were both on Jesse Waters' show. But I also work for the UFC as a reporter, so traveling around the country, working for the great Dana White and all of the amazing UFC staff and fighters. So you can catch me all over the place.
Yeah, and we originally met in boxes like this on Piers Morgan's show a month or two ago, and I knew of you, but I didn't know you before then, and it was like two screaming lunatic leftists, and you were just smiling and nodding and pushing back on them, and I was like, I like that chick. All right, guys, let's dive in. It's a weekly recap, and I think you're both going to really appreciate this one, Charly, you particularly, because something interesting is happening in New York City. Eric Adams, who's a lifelong Democrat, who has largely, under his regime, destroyed New York City. He made it a sanctuary city. He brought in the homeless. He brought in all of the drugs and everything else. Then he started getting investigated by the federal government. He seems to now be red-pilled. There's a lot going on with this guy. Here he is on Andrew Schultz's podcast.
And the thing is, I keep saying this and people don't like it. They get upset. You know, the Trump derangement syndrome is real.
Yeah.
You can hate someone so much that even if they do something
You're
right,
blind to it.
right.
Yeah.
You know that? And you can like or dislike Elon, but you don't have any right blowing up someone's Tesla.
Right. Exactly.
You don't have any
breaking the law.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, who do
Simple
you
as
think
that.
you are?
Yeah.
You know,
Like, I understand you're upset that people lost jobs. It doesn't improve the situation if you make more people lose jobs.
Right.
It is
He's
an
the
American
richest
car
guy.
company.
Right.
Yeah, he's the richest guy in the world. He's going to be okay.
Right.
He's not
Right,
the one hurt.
right,
The people
right.
that work there. So you're upset these people lost jobs. You're like, I know the solution. More people lose jobs.
All right, so first off there, he is taking the radical position that you shouldn't blow up other people's cars. I think we can get on board that. Charly, he is your mayor. He has ushered in a lot of this stuff as I laid out, but he is waking up. Do you think it's authentic? Do you think it matters? Is there any chance you would vote for him again? He just announced that he's not going to run again as a Democrat, but as an independent. What do you make of this situation?
Yeah, I've actually known Eric Adams on a bit of a personal level, even before he became mayor of New York City. He's a very nice, I would say in most cases, sensible guy. I think as the mayor of New York City, obviously you realize if you want to become mayor, if you want to be elected, there are certain expectations of you. I think he really tried to lean into those expectations. I don't necessarily know if he agreed with all of them at the point in time. If you don't agree, you shouldn't enact those policies. Obviously, I think we can all agree with that. Eric Adams still leaned into a lot of the leftist policies, especially those horrible immigration policies, which turned New York City into a sanctuary city, into a complete dump in most cases. Like, we are still recovering in a lot of senses from it. But Eric Adams didn't realize there was a shift occurring in the country. And I think he also was able to just see firsthand what was happening in New York City, right? I mean, as the mayor and also as a former police chief in New York City, you realize when things are really getting bad. He did realize that. At some point, he spoke out against it. And then that's when all of a sudden, all of these indictments started coming against him, right? This wasn't a coincidence that once he started leaning into these, you know, what were considered more conservative policies, all of this stuff started happening to him. So I do believe that Eric Adams just started waking up, maybe growing a little bit more of a backbone. And obviously now he's really been embraced by Trump. He was at his inauguration. And I think now he's saying, you know what? I still would like to win the race in New York City. I know that I can't run as a conservative in order to get that job done. So maybe running as an independent is the best option, because running as a Democrat, especially when he's made these stances, no longer is possible. But I would vote for him based on his shift. I would vote for him again. I think he's onto something, and I think he would enact some change.
Interesting. So, all right, Adam, there we have someone who will vote for Eric Adams. Your connection to this is that you have gone through a political awakening of your own over the last couple of years, I would say, kind of old school liberal, and now I would say somewhat similar to me, something like that. When you see someone evolving like this, what kind of alarms does it put off in your head, or do you just take them for their word and hope for the best?
So the ability to be reasonable, the ability to evolve from your viewpoints, I think, is the cornerstone of any growing human being. So anyone who's reasonable and sees what's going on and doesn't cling to their positions will take a look at what's happening over the last 4 years and be like, maybe I used to be here, but let's go over this way right now. So how many people that were not MAGA have transitioned? I mean, the leading voices are Elon Musk, number one. He just talked about it, getting his cars burned down. He wasn't a Trump guy 4 years ago, certainly not 8 years ago. Joe Rogan, the list goes on and on. What's that?
Not 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So that just is testament to the fact that, like, what the hell is going on in this country? Common sense, right? You know, Rubin, your slogan is what? Sane views in an insane world? Crazy. What is it?
Crazy world, sane views.
Exactly. All right. So sorry for butchering that, but same concept.
You're killing me.
There we go, baby. But yeah, we've all had to go through that evolution. Many millions of Americans have seen what's going on here. In New York, I mean, how many people have moved to South Florida in the last 4 years? I mean, our rents have skyrocketed, and we're not like you, Dave Rubin, sitting down there in your beautiful, gorgeous house. But I'm not going to say names, but you see what's going on. You got a nice basketball court. How's the knee, by the way? Hopefully you're doing okay.
Stem cells next week. All right,
we'll see what's going on here. But yeah, we're going to see what happens there. I mean, I've become pretty tight with Chris Cuomo over the last couple years. I like Chris a lot. I guess sort of rooting for Andrew Cuomo to see what happens there. I'm not in New York. I'm a Miami guy my whole life, Florida guy my whole life. We'll see what's going on here in Florida. You know, this is where Ron DeSantis said that this is where woke goes to die. And you go to New York. We just had your good old friend Sam Cedar on today. And I said, Sam, you haven't evolved at all. If anything, you've digressed. You're just clinging to this democratic socialist perspective. And it's like, I've seen no willingness to compromise. It's just TDS is a real thing. You hate Trump so much that you'll root against what's going on in the country. And I was in New York over the holidays, and I was like, I love New York, absolutely love New York. I'd never lived there. I'd visit there. And I'm looking at what's going on in New York, politically speaking, economically speaking, socially speaking. And I was like, I love New York City. I'd move here except for the fact of the taxes, the regulation, the subways, the people getting pushed in the subways, killed in the subways, the rats, the Mets, the Jets, whatever's going on here. So I know that you're there in New York, Charlie, but what an amazing city. It's still my favorite city in America, but to see it crumbling like this, you might need to bring Giuliani back. We'll see what happens.
I think it's super interesting that both of you here are sort of in on the guy's evolution. I'm a little more wary. I like to see it. I've seen a lot of people that kind of go for the grift. I'm not saying it's him, but sometimes people see the tea leaves change and they just start going where they think the country is going. And look, if the country's going that way and he wants to join, I think that'll be great. But, you know, Adam, you just mentioned about sort of the degradation of logic and reason and these people blowing up Teslas and etching swastikas into them. In my day, the people who were etching swastikas were the bad guys. Now they think they're the good guys. Anyway, this 15-second clip of one of the Elon protesters, I think sort of sums up the ridiculousness perfectly.
No, he needs to get out of our government. We didn't elect him. He needs to go. And
what do you think of Dr. Fauci?
I love Dr. Fauci.
Do you think we elected him?
He was appointed by our president.
Isn't that kind of it, Charlie? Yes, Fauci did go through an appointment. Yes, I accept that. But he was not elected. I think most people think at this point he did a bunch of things wrong. All Elon's trying to do is figure out where our money is, and these people hate him.
Yeah, I mean, if you were able to take your own personal bank account and have someone say, hey, by the way, I have just found so many great ways that you can save money for you and your family and live an even better life, you think someone would be like, no, please, I would never want something like that. Of course, they would be like, sign me up. This is amazing. That's exactly what Elon has done for this country. And yet people are trying to paint him as a complete villain. I mean, Elon Musk, listen, he's doing it for the greater good, as we know. He realized that another Democratic term was an existential threat to America. I mean, having another 10 million illegals flood this country, a further denigration of our election integrity. We have this Democratic majority, a very steady march towards, I don't know, Soviet-style communism. So not only was he doing his job in DOGE for the greater good of this country, but also he has his own personal goals, which we know to be making humanity a multiplanetary species, right? He needs to focus on space travel. He needs to focus on innovation. In order to do that, he knew that he needed to be unshackled by these deranged lunatics on the left. And that's exactly what he's done. So I love that the fake news media is trying to portray the fact that he only had a certain term in the White House, 130 days as a special government employee, now is being, he's making a retreat, right? All of these people stacked up against him. They decided he's not good for this country. That's the opposite of what it was. And I love that Caroline Leavitt jumped on X to completely shut down Politico when they tried to come out and say that this was the case.
Right. Whenever it is that he's
now how they're on the offense rather than the defense.
Whenever it is that he steps down, which now it sounds like it'll probably be in about a month or so, he'll have done more good for the government than probably any civil servant in the last 30 years. But it's one thing to show you a random woman on the street. How about a random woman who happens to be in Congress?
I don't like Elon Musk. I'm going to say it 50,000 times. I don't like him. I don't like that he going out there and he firing people. I think that he's a crook because somehow the rest of us can't sit around and get whatever federal contracts we want. The rest of us can't sit around and get law enforcement and get them somehow ordained as federal law enforcement to protect him. The rest of us can't get our dealerships protected by the federal government. That is somebody that is operating above the law. For whatever reason, just because he has a lot of money, more money than everybody else. And yes, I am happy to see that on my birthday, which is what I said, there were peaceful protests around this world against him because he is a problem.
Adam, first off, I do want to say that I loved Jasmine Crockett in season 3 of Orange is the New Black, but she's very confused, it seems to me, about who is the victim here. She's upset that the government is protecting the Tesla stations from being bombed. Isn't that the job of the government?
Yeah, the criminals are running the jail. What is this? What is the
inmates are running the asylum?
The inmates are running asylum. There we go again. So it just, whether it's with a socialist accent, whether it's like a thick Ebonic accent, the common narrative is like, I think, I feel, I don't like. It's like it's all emotions. It's all emotions. It's very literal logic. It takes two sides, two wings of the bird right there, emotion and logic. It's just purely emotional. Some of the criticism of the right over the years was that they had all logic, all math, all data, but they didn't care about people, right? What was the whole thing that Bush came out with? Compassionate conservatism. We're going to be compassionate, we can be conservative, versus being a bleeding heart liberal. But what I've been resigned to the fact is this. You're not going to change people on the left or on the right. They are who they are. It's all about the movable middle, right? So these people aren't going to change, whether it's 80+% of the country. That's what they feel, and that's what they're going to go with right there. Good luck. If you've ever been in a relationship with a woman, telling her not to feel a certain way. Good luck, guys. I've made the mistake of saying, why do you feel that way?
Calm down, right? You'll get the
calm down, baby. Everything's okay. You tell me to calm down. It's only going to get things worse. But tribalism, echo chambers, that's what's going on here. But one of the best things I've ever heard Elon Musk said, since we're talking about him, he says he would go to these dinner parties when he first started basically gravitating towards MAGA or dark MAGA, as he started to call it. And he says as soon as he started saying that he was supporting Trump, it would look like they got like a dart in the neck with rabies. And if you ever seen the movie Old School, he's like, I like you, man, but you're crazy. You got a dart in your neck, bro. They're like rabid dogs. They can't control themselves. It's pure emotion, and good luck.
Well, speaking of chicks you can't rationalize with, here's AOC.
How you doing? Hi, nice to see you. I want to ask you real quick, do you see a connection at all between the rhetoric we're hearing from Democrats on Musk and Tesla, connection to the violence at all, or what's happening on the streets, to Tesla dealerships?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I've seen Republicans call me communist and I hate this country. I mean, it's like, I don't know.
Charlie, wouldn't the easiest thing in the world be for her to be like, yeah, you know, it's one thing to hate Elon, it's one thing to be against MAGA, blah, 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 but stop blowing up cars from people you don't know?
Yeah, I mean, she didn't even really answer the question. I love how it's the elevator trick. Like, oh my gosh, push the button. You saw how many times she was pushing the button trying to get those doors to close.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it was a slow-moving elevator. A lot of things in Washington are antiquated, including their elevators. Yeah, I think it's an easy answer. Yes, obviously, we don't condone violence. Not to mention, you had the video just a couple of days ago of the mother etching something into one of the Tesla, defacing one of the Teslas in a parking lot, her two children right in front of her, one of them flipping off the camera. I'm not sure like if the camera belonged to the Tesla or what it was, but we saw it on social media. It's like, these are the examples the left is setting for their own children. I mean, it's not just like something that you wouldn't want to represent yourself, you know, to the public as such, but to your children to set this type of example. But this is the problem with the left. They are just so stuck in their own ways. They can't get out of their own heads that they see defacing private property and trying to destroy what really has nothing to do with anything. I mean, Elon Musk, let's just look at what he's doing. He's taking time away from his companies where he could be probably making even more money and running damage control in order to help the people in this country. Like, do people not have the ability to make sense of this? Of course they don't, especially those on the far left. Yeah,
right.
It's
for years they told us words are violence, and apparently taking a dump on somebody's Cybertruck is not violence. Let's talk about G Defy for a moment, and then we'll have more on the other side. You guys know I'm all about logic and reason, and here's some simple logic. If your feet are killing you at the end of the day, you need new shoes. That's why I love G Defy shoes by Gravity Defier. They're built on real science, not trends. Their patented Verso Shock technology absorbs harmful shock, returns energy, and is designed to align your body and makes walking, running, and standing feel effortless. Whether you're out and about or just on your feet all day, G Defy makes every step better. Right now, you guys can get 30% off orders over $120. Just text Rubin30 to 91888 or visit gdefy.com and use code Rubin30 at checkout. Use logic, choose comfort, G-Defy. All right, so the other crazy thing that happened this week is that Cory Booker, senator from New Jersey, he spoke for 25 hours without peeing. Here's Chuck Schumer congratulating him.
Would the senator yield for a question?
Chuck Schumer, it's the only time in my life I can tell you no.
I just want to tell you a question. Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
Adam, I played this clip a couple times this week because I love it. He didn't do anything. He didn't stop any legislation from being passed, which is what the filibuster really was for. He didn't change anyone's mind. He stood up there for 25 hours without peeing. I'm at the ripe old age of 48. I would say basically every other night I pee around 3 a.m. I think you're about my age. Are you peeing every night? Because that's the impressive part of this, that he didn't pee for 25 hours.
It's super impressive. I mean, I do a 2-hour podcast with PBD. As soon as the 2-hour podcast is done, I'm literally running to the bathroom right now. I had to fight Sam Souter to see who goes first. I don't know if he pees sitting down. I'm not saying that. I don't know what happens there. But one of the more impressive things I've ever seen is, you know, we did the election night coverage here at New Valuetainment Studios. And I allegedly we had one of the biggest, if not the biggest, live audiences on YouTube, and it was an amazing situation. And we were just sort of bringing guests in left and right. Candace was there. Your friend Dave Smith was there. People were calling in. Cenk Uygur, like just all these names, all these amazing people were there. Sammy the Bull Gravano, Michael Francis, all these names. Everyone's getting shuffled in. Myself, Vinny, Tom, the home team. And you know who just sat in his desk the entire time for, I want to say, 8 hours was PBD. Didn't have to go to the bathroom once. Wow. I said, PBD, respect on building this out, this amazing thing. Respect for what you're doing here. But massive respect for not having taken a piss for 8 hours. Ridiculous. So Cory Booker, at the very least, I don't know if he had Pampers on. I don't know what happened there. Not taking a urine break for 25 hours. Pretty incredible. I don't know what he talked about. I don't know what he talked about for 25 hours. I don't even know what it was. I will say that the motivation for him, I'll actually give him kudos, to beat, I think it was Strom Thurmond's filibuster record in 1957, civil rights, whatever it was. You know, that was his motivation. So respect on that. I don't know what it accomplished.
Right, I
but
guess.
At the very
Okay,
least,
so
he has the record now.
The feat is the feat, not that he accomplished anything. But isn't that the perfect sort of metaphor for the Democrats? Like, he talked a lot. Yes, I'll give you that. You talked a lot. You accomplished literally nothing. And then Chuck Schumer patted you, applauded and gave you a cookie. Isn't that perfect, Charlie?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you just said. The Democrats have absolutely no messaging at this point in time, and they're making their front-facing people the most maniacal of them all. I mean, Cory Booker is one of them. Jasmine Crockett, certainly another. I was blown away by a video that was just circulating the internet a couple hours ago. It's Jasmine Crockett admitting that she was a DEI hire, coming right out and saying, when I became a public defender, I had no criminal defense background. And I still went to my boss and I said, you should hire me. And of course he asked why. And I say, because I'm Black. And I'm like, why would you admit that? And not to mention, why are you so proud that you just earned a job because of your skin color and not your qualifications? I mean, right. The left has completely lost their way. They have not learned anything from their mistakes of the past, certainly not from what happened in the November elections. And it's like, that's when you come together, you huddle and say, what can we do differently? We clearly need to go in a different direction. We need to prove ourselves to be something different than what we've been perceived as. But instead, they're leaning even more into this insanity. And for me to see this, and, maybe proudly so, I feel like their future could be even more bleak than it is at present, which maybe that means conservatives continue to rule this world for, ages to come. So,
right.
I mean,
that would be, Adam, you want a feat for feat's sake? That would be a feat if they could become more unlikable than they are at the moment. But purported GOP pollster Frank Luntz, we put him on the show every now and again. Someone once said to me, never trust a pollster with the toupee, but here's his take on this thing.
But are they energized in running in a circle and fighting with each other? Or are they energized in a direction?
They're going crazy right now. And they're going crazy because they don't see leadership in their own party. And I want to emphasize what Cory Booker did over the last 24 hours may have changed the course of political history. That speech puts Cory Booker as one of the leaders for the Democratic Party. 2028, and I'll go even further. If you ask Democratic senators right now, who'd they rather have lead them over the next 3 years, they would choose Cory Booker over Chuck Schumer.
Adam, before I have you chime in on that, Ben Shapiro saw that clip and he tweeted, alternately, it may not have. What is that? What is that thing? You pull a stunt, you are now the leader of the Democrats. What would cause someone to debase themselves like that?
I don't think it's credit to Cory Booker. I think it's discredit to who their bench is. I think there was this 2 weeks ago they came out. I think it was Harry Hinton on CNN. He's like, all-time lows. What's going on here? 29%. Oh no, breaking news. It's down to 21%. It's like, how low can you go? Like doing the limbo out here. But it's not. I mean, imagine 20 years ago, give or take, Obama stepped on stage. I think it was 2004 at the DNC. Talked about hope and change in America, and it galvanized the DNC. They said, this guy, he's going to be our guy. 4 years later, Senator Illinois became president. Talk about a total 180. Cory Booker, stand there and not be for 25 hours. That's our guy. Unbelievable. This is the guy who's going to replace 180-year-old Chuck Schumer. Oh, my God, what an incredible feat. Yeah, right. So they stand for nothing these days. I wish they had more that they stood for other than standing around and not peeing.
I wanted to show you.
Miami guy is very impressive, by the way, I will say.
My
that
what?
was good.
Your New York accent for a Miami guy.
I got
right?
accents, just not a tan, apparently. So
I want to show you one other clip on this because, Adam, I think you're hitting on something. It's like they're trying to push this guy now because I think for a month they've been trying to push Newsom and the negatives on him are so obviously high that now they're trying to anoint someone else, and when this doesn't work, they'll anoint someone else. But over on The View, and I want to give a shout out to my mom, she always says that I'm not nice enough to Sarah Haynes because I make fun of all the other ladies and I always forget Sarah Haynes' name because she's not completely insane. So Sarah, I apologize, Mom. There you go. Love you. But Sarah Haynes, here she is praising Cory Booker and Alyssa Farah, who's the pet Republican over there. Here she is pitching him as the new party leader.
He said it was dehydrated. He said he was fasting for
Since the
3
previous
days.
Friday. Well, and one thing that we've talked about this table, but actually disagreed a little bit, is what the fight should look like. I have said to react in rage and hot-headed just to show you're resisting and you're fighting is not effective. This was effective. This was calculated, coordinated, and disciplined.
The fact that he didn't eat, didn't drink, and didn't pee for that period of time. I mean, that shows this sort of old school kind of fighting that I don't feel like we see in politicians anymore. I think there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to be looking at Cory Booker and saying, maybe that's who should be leading the Senate. Because something I still believe, and I know this table disagrees.
All right, so to be clear, I don't agree with what Sarah said right there, but even this thing that Alyssa's saying, that because you were able to not eat or pee for a certain amount of time, that makes you the leader of the Democrat Party. Well, maybe it's just fine, Adam. Maybe it's just, why am I even pushing against this? Yes, fine. Congratulations. You're like a camel. You're the leader.
I mean, the qualifications are so low at this point. We've seen so many failed politicians on the left right now that not being able to pee or eat for 25 hours actually might be the most impressive thing they've done in a very long time. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, I understand it, Dave.
I mean, if it has anything to do with Chuck Schumer's look, let me try to do a Chuck Schumer right here. Okay, listen, Dave.
Yeah, you got to go low.
And how low are we going here, Dave? All right.
We're so proud of you.
You know what's crazy about Chuck Schumer? You know what's crazy about Chuck Schumer? How old do you think Chuck Schumer is? How old do you think?
Chuck, I guess he's probably 76.
I think he's 72. Where'd our friend go? There she is.
We can all do it.
Look at this lovely girl. What a girl. What a guy. He's
74.
At least.
He's 74.
So how many years younger is he than Trump? 5 years younger than Trump. He looks a lot older than Trump. I'll tell you that much right there. But the Cory Booker, I actually could see being someone that they would galvanize around, because I think, I talked about the polls, 29%, 21%, whatever it was. And then they said, who do you think embodies the best of the best of the Democratic Party? And it was like AOC at 10%. I think it was Kamala at 9%. I think Joe Biden's still hanging out by a point. But it was just all these people. No one cracked anything more than 10%. I don't even know Gavin Newsom was in there. So the bar is set so low. If Cory Booker can get above 10%, he might be the guy.
Yeah, and he's a little gay. I don't even know if that helps anymore.
Is he?
Yeah, he seems a little gay to me. No offense.
Is he married?
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think
you
he's a
got the
lifelong
gaydar
bachelor,
thing
isn't
going
he?
on. You know what's going on. I mean, if it's what's wrong with being a gay leader.
This makes me even happier that Trump is doing one of his other infamous troll jobs, saying that, maybe he'll run for a third term. Perhaps there's a loophole that would allow such, because now, the Democrats are driving themselves even crazier than before. Likely not going to happen, but I just love that now they're all scrambling, saying, oh my gosh, what if this actually happens? And we gotta find our new person to put on a pedestal now that Trump might be running for a third term.
As if TDS couldn't get any worse. A third term.
All right, enough about people who have great bladders. Let's talk about 1775 coffee, and then we'll get to tariffs. 1775 and Rumble just unleashed the first anti-aging coffee and insane longevity bundle at half price. This limited edition bundle is a powerhouse collection designed to energize your days, sharpen your mind, and help you feel younger. Inside, you're getting their top-selling anti-aging coffee, the ultra-rare Peaberry Blend, an exclusive 1775 branded tumbler, plus more premium coffee and limited edition merch you can't find anywhere else. That's a $200 value just for $100. But here's the catch. Only 1,000 bundles are being released. Once they're gone for good. And if that's not enough, every dollar you spend gets you an entry to win the Cybertruck and $30,000 cash reward. But you've got only 1 month left to enter. Go to 1775coffee.com/Rubin and use code Rubin to save 15% off your longevity pack. Drink coffee that fuels your freedom, your values, and your life. Okay, so what I want to start with this tariff thing here is Trump announcing Liberation Day, that we are doing these reciprocal tariffs on all these nations. Subsequently, a whole bunch of countries dropped their tariffs altogether. And we splice this with a video that I found. This is Trump about 40 years ago, 35 years ago, something like that, on Oprah. And watch how consistent this guy's message has been.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple, can't get any simpler than that.
And yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
Charlie, it's pretty powerful watching those old videos. I love watching them because it doesn't matter.
I love him even more. It does. Especially because he's stayed tried and true to the blue suit and the red tie also. Like, you gotta respect you know.
Mostly for wardrobe purposes. No, but like just the consistency of what his core beliefs are. His affect is gruffer, his skin is a little more orange, but like the core stuff is exactly where Oprah, I think on that very show, by the way, asked him to run for president. And now it's 40 some odd years later and he's doing exactly what he said right there.
Yeah, not to mention at one point she was talking about maybe I could be your vice president.
Yeah.
But yeah, how times have changed, right? I listen, you know, as a consumer, obviously I am just a little bit nervous. I mean, come on, I'm a woman. A lot of the skincare that I buy comes from France, right? Like I don't buy a lot of American made products because we have such different FDA standards in this country that, you know, there's differences in how things are made. But we obviously see the purpose of what he's doing, right? He has a very short window to realign the global economy and reset the economic path before he has to start worrying about the midterms, right? The immediate fallout is going to be a little bit harsh. People are going to be freaking out. Obviously, it's going to cost more money if you still decide to buy items that are manufactured in different countries. But we see what this is trying to serve, right? You're going to bring jobs back to this country. You're going to bring manufacturers back to this country. You're going to build factories in this country, especially like what we saw in the pandemic times. I mean, especially if we view China, for example, as one of our greatest foes, we can't rely on them to make our medicine and make our weapons. So yes, this is going to hurt in the short period of time, but we know what happened, especially when we were starting to deport the illegal migrants, right? There was countries that were saying, no, we are not going to take them back. We're going to send them right back to you. And then what did Trump? He started making the threats. Suddenly, they were offering up their planes to have them deported back to their countries. The same thing's going to happen with these tariffs. He's going to enact the reciprocal tariffs. And then probably let's give it 3-4 months. The countries are going to say, okay, we understand you're not playing around here. We understand why you want to level the playing field. We're going to roll back our tariffs as well. Like that's exactly what I see happening here. So I'm not too worried. And I don't think anybody else should be either. This is a great thing for our country. We have been, as JD Vance said, America's piggy bank for far too long. And it's time to enact some serious changes. And this is
Adam,
something that's on. He's delivering on a promise in one of his big campaign promises.
Right. Well, that's the thing. He's doing exactly what he said. He didn't just magically come up with this post-election and be like, surprise, this is my policy. Adam, I'm actually somewhat sympathetic. We played a clip on the show this week of Thomas Sowell, legendary 94-year-old economist Thomas Sowell, talking about why he is against tariffs as it relates to Trump right now. It was a new interview that he did. However, I agree with Charlie that there's leverage here, this is negotiations, and there's going to be a little bump and some transition, and then things are going to be better. What is your take?
So Charlie, I would hate for you to have to not get your makeup from France. I don't want that for you. Maybe you're born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know what it is, but Trump would love your tan right now. I'll tell you that much. I love the fact that you put together those clips of what Trump was talking about 30, 40 years ago. He mentioned that literally in his speech. He goes, I've been talking about this for 30 years when I was young, good looking and handsome. I don't know if you saw that part right there. And he was, so tariffs. This is something that, I've been learning more about. I think the American people, I think the Wall Street's learning more about, Main Street's learning about. Is this good? Is this not good? What's free trade? What's fair trade? You know, Trump's big thing is being treated very unfairly. Being treated very unfairly. So Trump, I think, recognizes, you know, when he came and did the interview here at Valuetainment with PBD, he goes, you know, my favorite word, tariffs. My favorite word. I love the word, you know. And then when he did the inauguration, it was like, my favorite word is love, and then it turned to tariffs. But clearly, he's a fan of tariffs, and he's going to be utilizing these tariffs. And the whole concept of reciprocal tariffs, if you just kind of like filter down what the hell they even are, it's, you know, it's the golden rule. Do unto others how you would like to be treated. What you do to me, I will do to you. So if he showed up that chart, I love this chart, you know, and he talked about how U.S. charges on average 2.5% tariffs, and then he went down the list of EU 20%, Japan 24%, China 34%, Vietnam 46%, Taiwan, all these numbers, and then Canada's doing this, Mexico's doing this. So it's like, if someone is charging you 25 and you're charging them 2, at what point are you going to say, look, forget about politics. This just seems like a bad deal. And do we need Vietnam more than Vietnam needs America? Right? They need us. And then, you know, Batya Ungar, if you know who that is, I'm sure you do. She was on Pierce, and she gave an amazing explanation. I got to give her credit this. And basically what China's doing is sort of like exposing the loophole in the system with the, USMCA. And they just build plants in Mexico and Canada, and then they essentially skirt the tariffs, build plants there, and then they don't have to pay to basically bring it into America. It's one big shady game where we're getting ripped off. And I think Trump, to his credit, is exposing this and is leaning into it. At some point, this needs to be dealt with. They've carved out manufacturing. They've carved out jobs in this country. We don't make anything anymore. How many times do you buy something over the years and you look at it, made in China, made in China, made in China? It's like, at what point are we going to make, and those are little crappy little products. What about pharmaceuticals? What about steel? What about products that we actually might need if it's not just an economic war, an actual war? So we're going to feel the heat in the economy short term, but in the long term, it's almost like going through chemo. I had an ex-girlfriend that literally got cancer, had to go through chemo. It was horrible. But now 5 years later, she's as beautiful as ever. That's what's happening in the economy with these tariffs. You're going to feel the heat for a few months, maybe a year, but a year from now, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, I think our manufacturing sector, our job sector is going to really be brought back. And then last point, did you see how many companies? He went down the list here. Yeah. Apple, 500 billion. Yep. Right? NVIDIA, 500 billion. I mean, the numbers go on and on and on. I'll try to give it to you real quick. Here you go. SoftBank, another 500 billion. NVIDIA, TSMC, that's the semiconductor company. Meta, another 500 billion. Eli Lilly, Johnson & Johnson, DMAX, CMA, CGM, Stellantis, GM Honda. They're all bringing over $1 trillion back to the economy. Only someone who genuinely has TDS and does not care about America hears that and says, well, he's still mean.
You know, I was thinking,
get wealthy again.
I was thinking while you were saying it, another secondary nice thing about this is we're actually having like an interesting debate. You said you're learning about tariffs right now. I've all week on the show been trying to I'm obviously sympathetic and I agree with the argument you guys are making, but I was trying to show a little of the other argument. We're actually discussing things in an honest way, which was completely impossible under the previous administration. Let's talk about Rumble Premium for a moment, and then we'll finish up with actually some pleasant stuff that might be happening.
Free speech is under attack, but Rumble refuses to back down. We've always believed in empowering voices no matter how unpopular, and now we're taking that fight to the next level. When major advertisers conspired to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turned their backs, claiming Rumble had a right-wing culture. But we're not here to fit a mold, we're here to defend free expression. To strengthen this mission, we're excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from creators like Russell Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Timcast, and the Mug Club with Crowder. It's more than a subscription, it's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using promo code Rubin. Visit rumble.com/premium/Rubin and claim your discount today. Together, we can turn the tide. Whether you join Rumble Premium or simply keep watching, your support helps keep free speech alive.
Before we get to that pleasant stuff, we've hit this repeatedly, but yes, according to leading report now, Democrats in Congress have been polled with a 21% approval rating. I know that doesn't come as a surprise to you, so let's throw back to Lady Eyelashes one more time.
Say because you've been gracious, is this. When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charly, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charly looked at me like I was crazy.
Charly, that wasn't you.
Like
this Charly right here, Charly.
I will tell everybody I was never Jasmine Crockett's boss. If I would have been, I would not have hired her. Although, let's recall the videos of Jasmine Crockett before she got into politics.
Yep.
She was totally different. I mean, it's kind of like when we reminisce on the different accents of Kamala Harris throughout the campaign cycle. I mean, depending on where she was representing as a different type of person. And that's Jasmine Crockett. I mean, she used to be a very even-keeled, well-mannered, I mean, the way she, listen, I don't want to get into how she would speak versus how she's speaking now, but it was very different. And now we see her in this position where she's trying to lean in and appeal to a very specific type of audience. And suddenly she's cursing. She's talking about how it's a great thing to be hired based on your skin color versus your qualifications. This is a totally different version of Jasmine Crockett, but this is what happens when, the Democrats come into power. They're complete phonies. They're frauds. This is why they're called the fake news media. They're completely inauthentic. They should not be believed. Everything they've told us has been basically lies, and this will continue to be the case. And Jasmine Crockett certainly is not someone you should go to for the truth.
So, Adam, before we get to the positive ending, the good thing that happened this week, what's interesting about that clip to me is if she was in Congress, and let's say, even if I disagreed with her politically, but she came across as thoughtful and interesting and someone that really loves the country and wants to build bridges and do good things, and then made the exact same statement that I walked in there and said, hire me because I'm black, I would be making fun of her. I would be, because DEI is bad under any circumstances. But I think I would try to at least also make the argument, boy, in some cases something grew out of this, something to that extent. But she's the reverse. She's saying, I was hired because of DEI, and look at what I've become. I'm exactly what we know DEI produces.
So, these are on her constituents to figure out whether she should be hired or not. I don't know who Charly was, whether it was our friend Charly right here, whether it was Charlie Kirk, or whether it was Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's old brother. I don't know who it was that hired her, but here's what I know now. She's getting way too much credit and way too much praise. She's a congresswoman, bro. Okay? Do you know what? Congress people, they get elected in their district. They're not a senator. Yep. They're not a governor. They're certainly not the president. They have no pull. They have nothing. So if you want to act like that and you have, a couple 100,000 people in your district that are about that life, good for you. But this is not a winning message. This is not something that's going to win a state. This is not something that's going to win a country. This is a message that's going nowhere. This is why, whether it's on the left or the right, the AOCs of the world, or the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world, or Lauren Boeberts of the world, or any member of the squad you want to name, they can act a fool because the people in their districts love it. But no one in the state is going to take someone like that seriously, and nobody in the country is going to take someone like that seriously. So great, play the clips of her, play the clips of Marjorie Taylor Greene, play the clips of AOC. They have no power when it comes to actual policies because they're one of 435, so not effective.
You've given me a perfect way to end the show because, we started with Eric Adams and is this guy evolving sort of authentically? And then you have Jasmine Crockett, who, seems to be a LARPing actress. But these are both people that have been on the left and the standard bearer of the left in the last 30 years in America. Yeah, we could almost do a show without saying his name was Bill Maher, and he did visit the White House. He tweeted this: "Hey everybody, thank you for all your interest in my dinner with the president last night. I promise all will be revealed on the next Real Time on April 11th. It's April 1st today. No one would believe what I said anyway." Charly, I know you have differences of opinion with Bill Maher, but you got to dig that. Somebody that is willing to agree to disagree and break some bread, and having said some pretty nasty things in both directions, they're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's important. And to your point of people evolving, I think that it is a sign of strength for you to say, you know what, I made this decision at one point in my life, after some growing and reflecting, I now feel a different way, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I mean, I see no problem in having, for example, Clay Travis. We know Clay Travis to be one of the biggest voices in the conservative space now. He didn't always vote conservatively. Yeah. He voted for Obama, I want to say both times.
I think both times. Clay and I, he tweeted his voting history once, and I think we had everything in common except for one, which is slipping my mind. I'll try to find the tweet and maybe we can put it up.
And you know what? And that is great that, you're able to say, I've evolved and I have a different outlook now, and now I'm making different choices. I actually respect that and see no issue with it. So for someone like Eric Adams, that's why I say, yes, I would vote for him, because for him to, we'll call it, see the light. Yeah, sure. You probably learned a lot over the course of the term you've already spent as mayor. For Bill Maher, especially, even if he's not going to consider himself to be a conservative or say, oh, I made some errors, to be able to go into a setting and speak with someone politely and in a way that you can say, I might not agree with everything that you say, but I will listen to you and I will respectfully answer and listen to what you have to say. There is something to be said about that. And I wish more people understood how important that was, because I think we would have a whole lot more peace in this country if that were the case.
Yeah, Adam, I'll give you a final word on this. I bet, and we'll find out when Bill reveals it, and Bill's going to make some jokes at his expense and all of that stuff, but I bet you they really hit it off. Trump is funny. Trump likes people. Bill likes to joke around. They could poke each other the way Bill would do it in a green room at a comedy club. Like, I bet you it went really, really well.
Well, this is what's beautiful about America, is that you could literally say that this guy's the devil and he's going to ruin America. And then you can say as many things as Bill Maher has said about Trump, I mean, for years, and then be like, yeah, I'll join you for dinner. That's an amazing concept right there. In any other country, I mean, with the exception of a few, you start criticizing the president, you're never seen again, Bill Maher. What's my buddy, the Egyptian comedian that I argued with?
Whatever his name is. I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I said, Jesus, what's his name?
He replaced Stewart on the Daily Show for a little bit, or he was the Egyptian Daily Jon Stewart.
I said, why don't you go back to Egypt? Can't go back to Egypt. Right. I criticized the president. I'm done. I go, oh, interesting. So it's just interesting how that works, that in your country you can't go back there, but then you're going to criticize Israel, and you could go to Israel. I mean, they might not like you, but you wouldn't be killed like you would in your own country right there. But you gotta give credit to where credit due. Who gets the credit here? Is it Trump or Bill Maher that gets the credit? In my opinion, it is Trump. He's basically saying, this guy's been talking trash about me for 10 years. Trump derangement syndrome, and he's never going to leave office. He's never going to do all these things that he's been critical of. And he's like, yeah, send him on over. Shout out to Kid Rock for setting it up. But here's my take on Bill Maher. He's one of those guys, it's like he'll walk up just to the edge. He'll look over and he'll be like, it looks a lot nicer over there, but I'm just going to turn right back around. He's never going to cross that bridge right there, but at least give him credit for at least walking up to the entrance of the bridge, waving hi to Trump. And I'm sure he'll have some good stories about his time in the White House. But respect to Trump for inviting him. Respect to Bill Maher for actually showing up. Good for you.
I'm pretty sure I've been at that bridge, like holding the gate open for him. Like, come on, it's okay.
I've seen
it's
it, bro.
okay.
Dave, one last thing. Just one last comment. I mean, just where we're talking about examples of people that have reversed course. J.D. Vance at one point did not agree with Donald Trump. And guess what? Our country is as such. Our country is so wonderful that now J.D. Vance is the vice president to someone that at one point he publicly disagreed with.
Yeah, and you could actually make the argument that he can explain Trump's policies better than Trump can, which is kind of interesting. What do two cool people like you do over the weekend? Charlie, you're in New York. What do you do over the weekend? You push some people into the subway?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what I've already been doing. I went through my refrigerator earlier today and I took inventory of what are all the products, and I looked at the labels, what's made in the United States, so what's going to cost me the same amount of money, because I looked at some of the products that, okay, these are not made in America. Am I going to decide to continue to pay more? Am I going to try to find a product that I can swap it out for? So you know what? Maybe I continue not just in my kitchen. Maybe I go to my bathroom. Maybe I go to my bedroom, and I just start figuring out what changes need to be made to my lifestyle so that I can keep all the money in my pocket.
Well, next time I have you on, if your skin looks really dry, we'll know that the tariffs didn't work, I guess.
Yeah, Charlie, we have a similar weekend. I'm going to spend all weekend in Miami cleaning out my fridge. That's what I'm going to be doing. Okay. No, I'm going to be at Live Golf in Miami at the Trump Doral. Welcome to come hang out, Dave. Shout out to my friends from Saudi for the invitation right there. I might even be at the restaurant called Giselle above 11, and I might be at my favorite bar eating tacos at Bodega. But I'm going to experience all that the free state of Florida has to offer, that Mayor Francis Soros provides us here in Miami, and live life. And at the end of the weekend, Sunday night, I might call you, Charlie, to clean out my fridge with you, okay?
Adam, I like how you...
Thing, Dave, our mutual connection, Erin Wexler.
Oh, Erin, I love Erin.
As formerly non-libtake, she's in New York City this weekend, so maybe she'll come over and help me.
Yeah, she's with another friend of ours in New York City that won't be named, but you know who she is.
I know.
Adam, I like that you literally told people where you're going to be. Would you like to dox yourself before we end the program?
Listen, when you got nothing to hide, come say what's up. I don't think I'm doing anything that, people see me. I'm in these streets, Dave. A man of the people.
All right, thank you guys. You were great.
When are we going to play
as
ball
always.
again, Rubin? When are we going to play ball again?
I think in about a month, if these stem cells work out, I'm be back on the court. That would be pretty sweet. That's the hope. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for watching. No post game on Friday. Have a great weekend. Ciao.